today we have a project on our hands. As you can see, my man went way too long without a haircut. It looks like we have like a curly Edgar, but what we're gonna do is throw a taper on it and give it a slight trim. So we're gonna come in with our trimmer to establish our bald line a little below the bottom of the ear. And I want to let the weight of the trimmer do the work. I don't want to press down too hard, and now I'm going to flip it over and bald the rest of it out. And as you can see, my client is already turning slightly red, which means he has sensitive skin, and I need to be extra careful when using the trimmers. Now we're going to follow it up with our shaver to get it slightly closer to the skin and really add that gradient. And this is my Babyliss Pro UV single foil shaver. Highly recommend. Use the links in the description for my discount code, and we'll get you right. So now we're going to come in lever open on our clipper, going up about a finger's width. And all that means is put your finger right there at that guideline, and it should match the width of your finger. And we're just going straight across, and we're not giving it, a fancy curve, none of that, because naturally, the way the neck is, it kind of is round as far as how it comes off of the head, so naturally it'll keep the edges darker. So now we're going to come in with that one guard open, and we're going to do the same thing, go up about a finger's width. And we're just keeping that straight across look, staying real consistent, not switching anything up here. And you'll see me go over it multiple times just to make sure that it's truly a one open. And now we're going to move on to our two guard open. This is the biggest guard that we are going to use. And you want to be sure when using this that we're not establishing too harsh of a guideline. You kind of want to flare out. Now what I mean by flare out is think about like old school jeans, the ones that used to flare at the bottom. Essentially you want to have that motion. You want to come in and come out the shape of his head. That's really all I mean when I say flare out. So I'm coming in and flicking out. And that's because I don't want to leave too harsh of a line. I want to be able to transition this into the length on the back, as easy as possible. So I'm really exaggerating that flick out motion here. And now we're going to drop down to our 1.5 closed, and we're going to start blending down. And I'm being sure with this 1.5 that I don't take it all the way up to the top of that guideline. I'm kind of just flicking right at it. And little by little, you'll see this taper start to come together. So I'm using that 1.5 still right there going in the nape. And you'll see it kind of grows towards his ear. So I'm coming in at an angle with my clipper just to get it as blended as I can. And now we're going to drop down to our half guard with the lever open. And then you'll see me close it little by little as we move down within this taper. Because I start off open, so I eliminate the chance of taking off too much. And then I'll close it little by little depending on if I need to cut off, more hair. So I'm still working with that 1.5. We're about halfway with our clipper, utilizing a lot of the corner of the blade so I don't risk taking it up any higher. And as you can see, this taper is coming together very nicely as we continue to work with this half guard. I think the half guard is really a lot of times what can bring a haircut together and make that blend a lot blurrier. And now we're going to drop down to no guard, and we're going to come in closed, inching up at that line. And then I open up that lever little by little as we do move up. And you'll see little by little this taper is starting to look way more finished. Now I'm fully open, detailing with the corner of that blade right there around the right nape area. And you'll notice right after this step in the taper, all we have to do is blend into that length on top. And as we continue to work with that no guard, the taper is looking super clean. And we know we left off with the two guard open, so we're going to come in and do some clipper over comb. So I'm coming in with that comb and flaring out slightly, and then any hair sticking out of the comb I'm going to go ahead and get rid of with my clipper. So I'm kind of using my comb as a guard. So you'll see I'm coming in with that comb and flaring it out just like I told you to do with that two guard. And that's just to maintain weight while at the same time blending this line out. Because if I don't flare out that clipper, I risk taking up this taper higher and not really having a clean transition that maintains the weight in the back there. So you'll see I'm flicking out the hairs coming out of that comb. And now we're going to polish it up with some thinning shear over comb. And this is just going to soften it, make it a lot more blended, not so choppy. And now we're going to do the taper on the other side. So we're going to come in with our 2-guard open. And we're going to debulk with this 2-guard right here. We're not trying to, really do anything at all but clear space in order for us to establish our guidelines. So now I'm going to come in with my trimmer right where the ear connects to the head and where the end of the eyebrow ends. And then I'll bald that out with my trimmer. And I'm giving it that nice round shape because it kind of complements, especially after you come in and do the lineup, because it maintains the darkness on the edge up. Now we're going to use our shaver to get all that down to the skin. And just like we did in the back, we're going to go lever all the way open about a finger's width, and we're going to work our way up. And we are working in a smaller area, so I'm not using the full blade here, just the corners. And now we're going to get rid of the line in the middle, coming in close on our clipper, and then opening up that lever about a quarter of the way. And then we'll go all the way, and that should pretty much blend that line out. And now we're going to follow that up with our 1-guard open, again a finger's width with that round burst shape. Just like we did in the back, we're going to start off open. And I believe to line up the line in between, I went ahead and closed that 1-guard just to line it up. It's not going to get rid of it fully. And now we're going to come in with that 2-guard open once again, because before all we were trying to do was debulk, and now we're trying to establish where the top of that taper will be. So I'm coming in and flaring out just like I did in the back to maintain the weight there on the sides. And now we're going to drop down to our 1.5 closed, and we're going to work out that line right under. Being sure not to take this up all the way up to the top of the guideline, but right below. Now we have our 1/2 guard open, and then we'll close that little by little. And we're just working out those dark spots, trying to make this blend look as consistent and as clean as we can. And now we're going to do some clipper over comb into that weight there on the sides, just like we did in the back. So I'm going to come in with that comb and flare out just a little bit. And then any hair sticking out, we're going to go ahead and get rid of. Nothing crazy, nothing complicated. We're just using our comb as opposed to like a 4-guard, right? And this just saves a lot of time, more versatility. And we're going to do some clipper over comb behind the ear as well. And I like to do this because when we come in and line up the nape, it makes for a better clean line that doesn't have a lot of overhang, as well as I feel it just makes the haircut look, a lot cleaner. So if the client doesn't, emphasize that they want to keep the hair behind their ears, a lot of times I'll just lower that slightly to go ahead and catch a nice line. And now before we go ahead and detail this taper, I'm going to go ahead and line up its arch. So I started at the top of the arch and then the bottom and meet those 2 points in the middle. And that really brings the taper together and shows you any imperfections that you might need to go back and detail, which is why I really like to do this before I detail the taper. So I'm going to comb it down and then go ahead and reline it once again. And that thing is looking super clean. And now we're going to line up the nape, and I'm going to start at the top of the ear and then work my way towards the bottom. And you'll see I'm kind of giving it that round shape behind the ear. Try not to take it up too high. I want to keep it as natural as we can. And you'll see I comb those hairs down a lot to make sure that there's not, any overhang. And I will go to the bottom and bring those 2 points together in the middle. And when we get into the trim, all that hair right there at the top of the taper is what he really emphasized he wanted to trim. So when we go ahead and do that, this whole thing is going to look a lot better. And that taper is hitting from this angle even before we detail, but we're gonna go ahead and reline it once more and get rid of all those little hairs. So I want to lighten it up just a little bit more with some trimmer over comb. And now we're gonna go ahead and get all those hairs, and as you can see, that taper is looking way better than it did before the lining, but it also brings out any dark spots that we need to go back and touch up, so that way we don't waste any time. So now we're gonna come in with our thinning shears to soften up that transition into the weight on the sides. So I'm coming in with that comb and flaring out just a little bit. And we're just breaking up that weight, making it look not as choppy, more consistent. And I think it's looking clean. Now we're going to get into the taper on the other side, and we're going to follow the same exact system, the same steps. Debulk the sides so that 2 guard open, and then we'll start our taper. But if you guys are enjoying this tutorial so far, I have some good news, because coming very soon, Drake Clipper Hands Academy will be dropping, alright? And if that is something you are interested in, make sure you go to the description and press Drake Clipper Hands Academy and enter your email. You will be the first notified when it does drop. And in that academy, I'll have advice from how to build clientele, how to make social media content, how to market yourself, as well as tutorials that are way more in depth, way higher quality, and it'll be as if you're with me there cutting hair. So again, if that is something that you are interested in, make sure you go to the link in the description and enter your email, and you will be the first notified when it drops. I'm super excited for the value and that the education is going to bring you, so be on the lookout for that. But we're still continuing to come in with our 1 guard open here, establishing that next guideline, and we're just working with our corners, making sure that we get it all truly to a 1 open. And now we're going to go to our biggest guard, which is our 2 guard open. And again, we used it at first to debulk, but now we're establishing where the top of that taper will be. So I'm coming in and flaring out, and I'm using my comb kind of as a guide of how high I want to go. And now I'm just flicking off the shape of his head, trying to maintain that weight at the top. And now we're going to start blending down with our 1.5, utilizing a lot of the corner of that blade, trying to break up that weight. Now to get rid of the last line, I'm going to come in closed, and little by little you'll see me go ahead and open up that lever. So right here I have it all the way open, really utilizing the corner of that blade to go ahead and break up those dark spots. And this side gave me a little more trouble when I was doing the taper, so I'm paying a little extra attention to detail as to, the detail I put into this side of the taper. Still working with that 1/2 guard, opening, closing as needed, and now we'll do some clipper over comb into that weight. And it's not going to be perfect, but we want to make sure we clear the bulk out the way so we can go ahead and soften it up with our thinning shears. And again, I'm going to do it behind the ear as well. Go ahead and clear some bulk. And now we're going to go ahead and line up the arch before we detail a little more. So I'm starting at the top of the arch, and now I'm going to go to the bottom and connect those 2 points in the middle. And that'll give me my nice arch shape without digging into it, more than we need to. Because when you're doing an arch, for the most part on anybody, unless their arches are perfect, you have to dig into the hair a little bit, but the goal is to not push it back to the point where the regrowth is going to look like insane. So now for the neck taper, we're going to start at the top of the ear and round it out, keeping that as natural looking as we can as possible. And now we're going to go to the bottom and connect those 2 points in the middle, just like we did with the other side. And once I go ahead and clear that bulk in the back that really makes it look poofy and uneven, this cut is going to go to a whole nother level. It's going to look way cleaner. So now we're going to soften it up with our thinning shears, just like we did on the other side. And we're just trying to make it look more consistent, as if it all flows. It looks way better. And now we're gonna go ahead and dampen his hair, because as I told you, we want to go ahead and lower the sides. He wanted to keep the length everywhere else but on the back and the side, so that's all we're gonna tackle here today. So we're just dampening the hair, trying to get it, you know, wet, because it's easier to manage when the hair is damp or wet. And now we're gonna create our sections and we're gonna even it out. So this client I haven't cut in really almost a year. He ended up going to somebody else for these past few months, but he came back randomly, and the first thing I noticed was how uneven his hair is. So all I'm doing back here is evening out the back, because he doesn't need too much length in order to make it look better. So as you can see, we took off about 1 inch at the top, and then we're gonna even out everything with that. And we're just taking vertical sections going towards his left. And I also really wanted to trim the top, because I know if the sides were uneven, the top must be very uneven. But he wanted to keep that, unfortunately. But even with this little bit that we do here today, it's going to look so much better. And you'll see as I pull the hair out, especially towards the bottom of my finger, that hair was everywhere, right? So it'll make the hair look a lot denser. It'll lay a lot better, just considering the hair is more even. And now we're just working towards his left, and you'll see the left side has a lot more weight around that front taper. So you'll see me here in a few moments go ahead and tackle that issue, so that way the hair is just not hanging over the sides. So I'm going to separate the front part of his hair, and now we're going to take horizontal sections going vertical sections, sorry, moving towards the back of his head. And you'll see how much better the taper flows into the hair there on the sides. Already that looks so much better. And now we're going to continue that guideline all the way to the back. Boom, that's where we need to bring everything to, the hair at the bottom of my finger, and we'll even that all out. And that haircut is looking so much better. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use some level 3 texturizing cream. And I'm just melting it in my hands and working it into his hair while it's damp, because it's more easily spreadable throughout the hair, and it works in a little better. And then when we dry it, it'll give it that kind of, you know, dry natural look. But even texture wise, this texture looks so much better once we added, you know, product to it as well. And now we're gonna go ahead and diffuse it, because we want to give it, you know, give it the most volume look and texture look as possible. So the diffuser is definitely the way to do that. And that taper is sitting super nice with the hair on the sides. I'm very happy with how this came out. Way better than when he walked in. But family, this is how my client came in looking, and this is how we left leaving. All right, I think we put a miracle on my man's head. Listen, if this video helped you in any way, shape, or form, I appreciate you guys. Make sure you leave a like and a comment. And don't forget, Dre Clipper Hands Academy coming soon. Hit the description down below. Press the link to the academy, enter your email, and be the first notified. But also, if you're still here, January 14th in Dallas, Texas, I will be at the Barber Plug Experience teaching a class. All right, so if you guys want to come pull through, the link will be in the description to go ahead and purchase your tickets. I hope to see you guys there. Again, January 14th in Dallas, Texas, Barber Plug Experience. Come see your boy and many others. I will see y'all there. Peace.